brothers and sisters, this is just a quick follow-up to part 12 that I needed to elaborate just a little bit more on and correct something in there. So when the building above the earth was shown, the kingdom was shown, yes, you were seeing it during the day. And I said, you were seeing it still in the flesh, right? With mortal eyes. But I needed to have corrected that. So yes, we're upon the earth, but we are seeing it in the spirit with spiritual eyes. And that is why those that don't have spiritual eyes were running over the heavenly fruit, because they haven't been born again in the spirit. And Yahshua taught that in order to see the kingdom come forward, you have to be born again in the spirit, or you will never see it happening. And so those people are, destroying the fruit and trying to destroy the fruit because they have not gone through their awakening process yet for themselves, okay? And this is why it's so important that we are helping lead people back to Christ, because then that's how he becomes their Redeemer and their King. That's how he steps into his role as Emmanuel in their life. Is as they step into their awakening process, then he takes them through the redemption process. And so ultimately, will the world understand what's going on? No, because the world, so many people are still asleep. That's why the awakening has to happen. But just like in the dream, and I didn't talk about this in the video because I guess I was supposed to do it now, but there was the part where the fruit had been given and the stones had been given, and before I saw people moving freely between heaven and earth, I was looking all over for one of my daughters, and I was just, oh my goodness, is she seeing this? Is she missing this? And it was so symbolic of the fact you don't want anybody to miss what is happening. We want to lead as many people back to Yahshua and ultimately back to, being redeemed and remembering who they are as possible, because we don't want anyone to miss the kingdom. We want as many people to be awakened and help them not give up, because as I talked about, when you are being awakened and you're taken through this process, and the world teaches this kingdom gospel that's not even correct. It's such a checklist, it's unreal. And then that's I understand why Yahshua said you came here to get a doctorate degree in the kingdom gospel of eternity. It's two totally different things. It's hard. And when people are surrounded by people who do not understand a person's awakening process, they don't have the support and the love that they need through that process. And so the world will teach you to silence it, shut it off. That when you go back to who you were and back to what you were doing, because the spirit comes like the wind, right? It cometh as it may, and people don't know where it came from. And so if someone hasn't went through their own awakening process, they cannot help another person that is experiencing their awakening process, because they are still seeing everything from a worldly perspective and that mortal perspective. And so in order to see the kingdom come forth, yes, it was happening in the day, but unless you were seeing it with watchful eyes, with spiritual eyes that have been born again in the spirit, the people couldn't see what was happening. So when these heavenly fruit, these eternal truths were being given, the cars were just running over them because they couldn't see what was happening. So it's so important that the kingdom step forward and help those that are being awakened. That's the 12 tribes, is helping heal the nations by being that love and support that the people truly need to not give up and keep going, and be able to help explain, yes, this is part of your awakening process. Keep going. Keep leaning in to Father and Mother and to Yahshua. Keep leaning in, because through every step, you are going to achieve what you're supposed to achieve and learn and return back to your true authentic self, so that the kingdom can once again be born upon the earth. So hopefully this is the end of these teachings, and I get to move on with the next set of in Revelation. So I pray that just helps, gives further insight to that we have to be born again in the spirit, and why the world is running over this pure fruit that people are like, why would you run over that? It's because they haven't been born again in the spirit and they don't understand what's taking place. So the world around you is this, a lot of people are asleep, but as this awakening happens, more and more people will wake up. And it's so important that the 12 tribes are ready to do the work, and that we can help people understand this is part of your awakening. Keep going and don't give up. So more food for thought. Have a glorious day.